every week. I know it's almost noon Eastern time, so I'll get one of the noon games out really quickly. It's Ole Miss and Mississippi State, otherwise known as the Egg Bowl. I know this game has some implications for Ole Miss. If they're able to win this game and Alabama loses to Auburn tomorrow and Texas A&M loses to Texas tonight, you'll see the Rebels in the SEC championship game. But what I really wanted to talk about was the big story surrounding this game, the future of Lane Kiffin. It it's widely considered that he will not stay at Ole Miss because there was a statement put out that you'll expect a decision after the Egg Bowl or whatever. And I'm like, and what I'm just thinking is, if he's going to stay, why not just come out and say he's going to stay at Ole Miss and be a Rebel from here on out, take distraction away from the team. I know, like I mentioned before, you're preparing for a big rivalry game. Odds are, if Ole Miss wins this game, they'll be in the playoff for the first time in school history, have the best regular season in school history. Um, so that just makes it interesting to me. It's the future of Lane Kiffin. Evan, Jake, just quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually think Ole Miss is going to come out fired up to play. We'll see in about, I guess, like Jordan said, 6 minutes. But I think they're going to come fired up. They've had this media attention. Those play, you got to think about those 20-year-old kids. Like they've had this media pressure all week long. What's going to happen with their rich 50-something-year-old coach? And obviously Lane Kiffin's an amazing coach. I'm not trying to gloss over that, but he is sort of the distractor right now. With Florida and LSU offering something like $100 million deals or something. So these kids are just trying to go out and play. I think they're going to go beat a team that Mississippi State is a very good team for. Obviously, they're still an SEC school. Don't get me wrong. But Ole Miss is the more talented team. I think they're going to want to go out here and just shut out the noise and really lay it on their rivals. So that's what I think is going to happen. But as for what happens for Lane Kiffin, we'll see. I'll just say money talks for sure.
Lane
Um, and
Kiffin.
um, but yeah, it should definitely be interesting. But I think Ole Miss is going to roll.
I just wanna I just wanna say real quick that Lane Kiffin, who knows what in the world happened with him? Like Evan said, maybe he probably ends up at Florida or LSU, or even let's not rule Penn State out of this equation.
You think Penn State can pony up that? Because I know Penn State obviously would want him. Do they have 100 million to throw around like
I
LSU
do
would?
not know, but
Yeah,
I do know Lane Kiffin is the kind of person that would not talk about Penn State at all and be like, "Oh, well, I'm the head coach of Penn State now." Like Lane
right.
Kiffin is that kind of person. Jake,
Yeah,
just
obviously, Penn State doesn't have a head coach right now, so they have to go out and look for one. I don't think Lane Kiffin is gonna be it, but I gotta agree with Evan right here. I think Ole Miss does come out, fired up. I think Ole Miss wins this game, and hopefully they play again the SEC championship game with Jordan said with losses to Alabama and Texas if they lose tonight, and if they lose in their respective games, Ole Miss will be in the SEC championship game. No, but everything I have seen, everything that I've heard surrounding Ole Miss right now is Lane Kiffin is not going to be a Rebel in 2026. He will be an LSU Tiger. So we will see how those they're all just rumors right now. We will see how those rumors end up working out. But everything that I've heard, he'll be an LSU Tiger.
all right. So the game that I mean means a lot to me is the in-state rivalry in the state of Georgia. I know that like it seems like it seems like no matter who you talk to, they think this is going to be a great game. But personally, I just don't see it that way. I think Georgia should win this game by 17, 20 points, maybe 24. And then obviously Georgia. So it's interesting. So Georgia can win today, finish 11-1, not make the SEC title game because if Bama and Texas A&M win, then Georgia's left out. So what's interesting is Georgia can receive a quote unquote bye and not play in the SEC championship game and still receive a top four seed because they changed it last year where they changed it this year where the top four in the playoff don't have to be conference champions, just the four highest ranked teams. So that'll be interesting to me to see if Georgia will receive a quote unquote double bye. not playing in the SEC championship game and receiving a bye in the first round of the playoff.
Yeah,
Evan?
I would be wary, Jordan. I think this could be a trap game. Not because yes, Georgia is by far the better team. I will definitely agree with that. I think they're by far the better coach team. I think last week Georgia Tech got exposed. Not only do they not really have a defense, they got ran all over by Pitt, who's still a good team, but their coaching I was not impressed with last week with Georgia Tech. I thought, Haynes King is putting it all on the line, trying to come back from down 28 nothing, and you can't even, and maybe some of this falls on the quarterback too, but I don't know. The offense was slow, lethargic. I did not like the play calling. So I was not impressed by Georgia Tech's coaching. I know they've had a good year. So Georgia should roll, but it is on the road. It's a rivalry game. You still have Georgia Tech does still have a pretty good offense. So I think this is a game Georgia should obviously win. But I could definitely see it being closer than, it should be.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
meaning
proper game. I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
yeah, meaning obviously I'm going to watch this game with a couple of my buddies from where I used to work at Publix, but now talking about this game, I mean on paper Georgia Tech should this should be a very good game. Georgia Tech should stay within, a certain amount of points, but you look at the point spread, UGA is favored by 15.5. If I was a betting man, I would take Georgia Tech
If
to cover.
I would too.
I I think Georgia is very good. I think they're very talented. I think, but Georgia Tech's at 9-2 for a reason. I think they have good quarterback play. They have good running backs. They have good weapons on the outside. Georgia Tech is here for a reason. I don't think they're losing by 16 today.
that's as for the game, I think that Georgia. I mean, like I said, should win around 17, 20 points. Georgia Tech's run defense is really bad. Georgia can go 3-4 deep at running back. If this game is 21-7 at halftime, let's call it that. That might be the kiss of death for Georgia Tech, given the way Georgia can run the ball. Um, Haynes King's going to have to make plays with his legs. I don't think he can. I, I, I don't think you can beat Georgia being one dimensional. Georgia Tech's going to have to get that run game going too. Um, and then the big game tonight, we'll talk about Texas A&M, which has a multitude of playoff implications here and SEC championship implications, like I talked about. So Texas A&M, if they win, they're in the SEC championship game. It doesn't matter what Bama, Georgia, or Ole Miss does. Like they control their own destiny there. But the playoff implications I really wanted to talk about were for Texas. What happens if they what happens if they have a win over Texas A&M? Do they get in at 9-3? Personally, I do not think so because I'm like they have a blowout loss in Athens against Georgia. You lost to a really bad Florida team, like really bad. And yes, you played Ohio State, who might be the best team in the country right now. But Arch Manning did not look good in that game. I get it's only week one, but I mean the game still happened. So for me, I would say Texas does not get in at 9-3, even if they beat A&M.
No, I
Evan?
think to be a three-loss team in the playoffs, you got to be pretty dominant. And has Texas looked dominant all year? No, not on any phase of the ball. They've looked good at times. They are getting better. I think Arch Manning is getting better as he's getting more experience. Which is good to see. He didn't become Heisman like everyone thought he would, but yeah, I think to be a three-loss team, it would have to be a very specific situation where like you're just on fire late in the season and it's like undeniable that you're one of the top teams, even though you had a rough, say, September or whatever. Texas has not done that. They haven't been strong all year. So no, I think they're still on the outside looking in. But yeah, this should be Tech versus I'm sorry, they face A&M, right?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. A&M has a really good year. Obviously, that South Carolina game they came back and won. That does give you a little bit of pause, but this should be a really fun one. I really don't know if I have a strong. I think Texas A&M is probably the more complete team, but I think this has the potential to be a fun one.
Oh, it definitely does. I mean, I would not be shocked at all if Texas were to win this game. It, but I mean, now what would shock me is if Texas wins this game by, 20, 30 points. That I'd just be like, whoa.
Yeah. Then you may have that
Yeah, I mean,
conversation about the playoffs, but we'll
You
see.
would
Yeah, Jake.
would have that conversation.
yeah, I mean, this game looks like it's going to be very fun. 16 against three. In-state rivalry, Texas A&M. Texas A&M looks like a good team. I mean, Texas A&M definitely has its flaws. Definitely had a 11-0 team. Um, they were down 27 at halftime against South Carolina a couple weeks ago. They obviously great comeback to win that ball game. They beat Arkansas by three earlier in the year. They only beat Auburn by six earlier in the year. Notre Dame, I know they're playing really good, but they only beat them by one in the year earlier in the year. So is this Texas A&M team definitely a more complete team than the Longhorns? I think yes. Can the Longhorns give up a good challenge and keep this game very close until the end and maybe even pull off the upset win? I think they can as well. This will be a very fun game, but I'm gonna go Texas in this game.
And then I don't think this game has major playoff implications, but it's worth talking about, mainly for the historical factor of this. Tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern time, you have Vanderbilt going on the road to Knoxville, and also for Diego Pavia reasons. I believe that we've all seen the things that he said, that Vanderbilt's going to go up there and beat the Wild Tennessee. This is going to be the new norm. Vanderbilt runs the state of Tennessee, all that. So we're going to see if he can go up there and back up his trash talk. And also for the historical factor of this, Vanderbilt has never won 10 games in a regular season.
Wow. I
Um,
didn't know
I,
that.
I think they've gone 9-3 before, won a bowl game, so that's 10 wins. But I'm talking about in
So
terms of a 12 game season.
so there's no chance because Vanderbilt they only have two losses. I to Alabama and who was their other loss? I'm trying to
Texas,
remember.
Texas.
Texas. So those are pretty respectable losses that you would say they I know they're ranked 14th right now. They have no shot at the playoff.
I wouldn't say no shot. I just don't think it's likely for them.
Okay. So but still potential shots. So no, yeah, this should be a really good game. I think Tennessee's turned it on of late. They blew I know Florida's in a really bad spot right now, but they blew the crap out of them last week. So yeah, this should be another fun one in Knoxville.
Yeah, which speaking of Tennessee, I think if you beat Vanderbilt this weekend, I think that actually Tennessee might have more of an argument to make the playoff as a three-loss team than Texas does, but we'll see. Jake,
Ah, this game in good old Rocky Top. I think that I think that Vanderbilt goes up to Knoxville and they knock off the Tennessee Volunteers because, I mean, honestly, since Tennessee has played really well this year, I think Vanderbilt has played more interesting this year. Obviously, you look at Vanderbilt's record, Jordan saying they have never won 10 games in a regular season. Uh, you look at that loss to Texas that was only by 3 points. You look at that loss to Alabama is only by 16. You know, Tennessee's not Texas and they're not Alabama right now. So I think that, sorry about that. I think Vanderbilt, comes up to Knoxville, beats, what Diego Pavia said, and I think Vanderbilt gets their first 10-win season in the regular season.
all right, well, we'll jump to an ACC game, and I know Jake wants to talk about this one. Miami goes on the road to Pittsburgh. Miami, we all know, beat Notre Dame week one, but the playoff committee has, done some unspeakable things, despicable things, leaving them behind Notre Dame. But that's a totally different discussion. Um,
Paying by a million.
and as for Miami, the ACC championship game is still in play. Things have to go their way. A few things actually. For starters, you have to have Virginia lose to Virginia Tech, and you have to have SMU lose to Cal, which I personally don't see either of those happening. Miami's going to have to get in the playoff as an at-large bid, and I just don't see that happening, which is a darn shame because Miami might go 10-2 with a win over Notre Dame. but you might see Notre Dame getting the playoff over them.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I haven't fully like I've seen the Tuesday shows where they rank the top four and then on and on, but I haven't really fully dived in the playoff yet. I think some of the best PWTB debates on this channel's history are us talking about the playoffs. I know that gets pretty entertaining sometimes, so I'll look more into it and see where things stand. But yeah, if Miami gets screwed, that's unfortunate. But also, they had some lesser opponents they probably should have taken care of as well. So maybe that comes back to bite. But yeah, this should be Miami and Pittsburgh. Obviously, Miami absolutely needs to win this game. And Pittsburgh's putting together a nice little season too. So it's gonna be chilly. Should be a good one there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know Jake doesn't want me to bring this up, but I think you all remember the last time Miami went up to Pittsburgh, last game of the season with playoff hopes. And
2017. Yeah.
and Jake, would you like to tell us how that game ended?
Number two in the country, we end up we end up getting blown out in Pittsburgh, and
And
there
then lose
goes
the
our playoff hopes.
and then lose the ACC title game the week after that. Well, actually, not just lose; it destroyed in that. Um,
Yeah, for some reason, every time that we play Clemson, we've got destroyed. But in this game, hangs by a million. 2017 won't happen again. Carson Beck gonna keep playing his game. Obviously Mark Flexer is back. The two-headed monster in the backfield with Mark Flexer and Gerard Pringle. Malachi Tony is gonna keep doing what he's been doing all season. Canes are gonna come out on top.
all right, so this gets thrown around or has been thrown around that so Notre Dame played up in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago and won by 22 points, I believe it was. So the question is, should Miami have to win by more than that to impress the playoff committee? And to me, I don't think it should matter because, like I've mentioned, Miami beat Notre Dame head to head. I get it was week one, all that, but the game still happened. So if Miami goes 10-2, they should be in over Notre Dame. Again, that's a discussion for a different day. Evan, Jake, what are your just quick takes?
I know as long as I've debated Jordan on this, like the last couple of years in the college football playoff, we have different. Jordan sees it as, from what I understand, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You see it as who wins the game. That's what matters the most. And of course, I
It's a spirit of
mostly
it's a spirit of competition.
right.
You settle things on the field.
I mostly believe that. I just tiny bit more believe in style points and more believe a little bit how you look doing it. So I think it does matter a little bit, but Miami, like Jordan said, Miami is in a hole right now. Whether that's fair or not, we're gonna get into that. I assume pretty soon. But yeah, it's I don't think it would hurt to win by 20 or 30. Definitely.
Just a quick update. Ole Miss scored on their opening drive and take a 6-0 lead on Mississippi State.
All right, off to a good start.
So we saved the two best games for last. I think. Well, we'll talk about the Iron Bowl first. Alabama Auburn in a game where Alabama, you would think, they definitely have to win because the three-loss Alabama is not getting in the playoff without an SEC championship, and if they lose, they're out. Um, and I would not want to be Alabama. It's you know, so Georgia plays there every other year, and it seems like Auburn jumps out to 10-0, 17-0 lead every time Georgia plays there. And I always say that place is haunted, which actually might be true. We saw a photo the other night of like a red sky over that stadium, and I'm like, seriously, I'm like Alabama's doomed. Um, but I mean, you never know what happens in these Iron Bowl games. The most famous ending of that game was Chris Davis's kick six. I know we all remember that one. Um, well,
Memory I have. First memory I have of the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, and
um,
we've talked a lot about that. I'm gonna give my thoughts quick. No, Kalen DeBoer is going to have these guys ready to go. Alabama's going to roll. This is not your Cam Newton's Auburn team. This is not your 2013 Auburn team. This is not even your Bo Nix Auburn team. This is an Auburn team that is. I'm amazed they got to 5-6 to be honest, but obviously they've had to make a head coaching change, and I will say the Auburn fans, much love to them. They're going to show up and show out. They're going to be loud. They're going to do
Always
that,
are.
but
They always are.
always are. But the team is not good. Alabama is going to be mad after that Oklahoma loss. I think they're going to roll.
Just really quick, I want to give. I think Auburn actually pulls off the upset. We've seen crazy things happen at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and Alabama going in there with playoff hopes and SEC title hopes on the line. We've seen crazy fluky things happen there. 2017, Auburn beats then number one Alabama. 2019, beats then a top five Alabama team. In 2021, it took four overtimes. In 2023, it took I believe it's called the Gravedigger play, the 4th and 31.
Yeah.
I know Evan talked to a Auburn fan about that play a couple years ago. So this is not going to be an easy stretch. I don't think this is going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination for Alabama. If they're going to win this game, I sincerely hope this game does not come down to a field goal for the Tide, because then, I mean, you're going to start having flashbacks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Jordan. I think that, Auburn fans are going to come out, they're going to be loud, they're going to juice up the team. I think Auburn comes into this game, their head coach is going to juice them up. I think, I think Alabama comes into an Auburn team and they're not going to know what hit them. I think Auburn's going to be too fired up for this game. I think the Tigers are going to well out on top.
So, I mean, 2 out of 3 of us are picking Auburn to win this game. That's actually a little crazy. Because usually you just don't bet against Alabama, but I guess we are. And then I guess I would call it main course of the weekend is the game in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's Ohio State, Michigan. It's the game. You haven't seen the Buckeyes beat Michigan since 2019. So I'm going to just throw it over to you guys really quick. Does Ohio State get it done this year?
I think they definitely have the best shot in a while. I mean, they should have got it done last year too, so I guess that's not even true. But they have a very good shot to get it done. I believe they're 9.5 point favorites the last time I checked. This is, I am starting to hear some Ohio State, a little bit of doubt, not a lot, but I'm starting to hear rumblings of like they played nobody. They beat Texas early in the year, and they didn't even look that amazing doing that. I'm starting to hear a little bit of rumblings with that. People are doubting that Ohio State maybe is the undisputed number one. Maybe some Indiana fans want them up there, but anyways, yeah, this should be another good test for them. I think it's unquestionable. The Ohio State defense is elite. I think if you've watched any Ohio State this year, you could see that for yourself, no matter who they're playing. But this is going to be a big test for Ohio State's offense and Julian Sand, and a test that they haven't had to face a lot this year. Michigan is very good. They've only got more hot as the year went on. So and it's on the road, so it should be a good test for them. Yeah.
And
Yeah, the Buckeyes.
just a quick note. I believe it's supposed to be in the low 30s and snowing in Ann Arbor tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess all across the Midwest this weekend. Should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be a messing in Auburn tomorrow. But yeah, talking about this game, Ohio State favored by 9.5. Michigan obviously comes into this game 9-2 with, obviously wings over, maybe people would say the biggest win that they have this year is over Maryland, and Ohio State really hasn't played anyone, but I think Ohio State rose in this game. They like you talk about Evan, best defense in the country. They have arguably the best quarterback in the country and best freshman quarterback in the country in Julian saying. I think Ohio State just rose in this game. I don't think Michigan has too much of a chance in this game.
It's crazy that you say you don't think Michigan has too much of a chance in this game, but we all remember what happened last year, where they 5-loss Michigan team going on the road to face the number 2 Ohio State as a 3 point as a 3 touchdown underdog and stunning the Buckeyes. But I'm not gonna, I'm never gonna say Michigan never has a chance to beat Ohio State. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Ohio State has, regardless of who they played, Evan has mentioned, the defense has looked really great all year, no matter who they played. They've only given up, I believe, one first half touchdown all year, which is just astounding, remarkable. Um, they, I, they haven't trailed in a single game for a single second, which is absolutely remarkable. So to me, I don't think it matters. There's question to whether Jeremiah Smith is going to play tomorrow or not. He might have been cleared. To my knowledge, there's still question. Um, but Julian saying he's going to have Cornell Tate there. He's going to have Ennis. I forget his first name. I believe it's Brandon. So, and then of course you got the defense. Defense travels everywhere. So for me, Ohio State is going to win this game. But it's not going to be easy. I mean, Michigan, you're never going to have to get Michigan up for this game. And the same for Ohio State, because like I've mentioned, Ohio State has not beaten Michigan this decade. Although I do see it changing tomorrow. Um, it, it you're never going to have to get either team up for this game. It's the game they look forward to all year. It's the game they have circled. It doesn't matter if they're both 0-11. They want to go 1-11 and just beat each other. So I mean, we talked about, I believe it was 6 games today. Um, so I just want a quick answer. Evan, which game is just most intriguing to you, just overall?
I think in terms of the competitive, I think obviously in terms of the hype, it's Ohio State, Michigan. That's going to be um, probably the biggest hype game up. But in terms of like evenly playing field teams, I think it's Vandy and Tennessee. That's going to be a very entertaining one because usually Tennessee just kicks their butt, but Vanderbilt has a good team this year. So I'm most looking forward to that one, I guess.
Jake, just
Yeah,
That's
I
not
mean
bad.
I agree with Evan. I think if it's the more competitive game, I think it's going to be Vandy, Tennessee. But I think if it's the game that has, the chance for the upset, I think it's Texas A&M. I think Texas pulls off the upset.
so in terms of game, I'm most excited to watch. Um, with all due respect to Ohio State, Michigan, that's like that might be the best rivalry in the country. I'm an SEC guy, so I'm going to say the Iron Bowl.